intro, maybe. How do you do that, though, and have it, like, seamlessly go to your video?
Oh, there's a definite way to do it. I feel like I need to drink more today. I'm going to drink a lot more today. Don't worry about me sipping my drink. It's going to be sipped. Although it tastes like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it tastes like a penny.
Didn't you say that?
If I sucked on a penny, that's what it would taste like. Thank you for voting rosé, but I don't like this one.
Also, remind me to tell you about the debacle that happened this morning. It's cool. It's
Where?
a positive debacle, but
Debacle where?
on Facebook. All right. So,
Can you actually see that I have a bun, or does it look like I'm a man? Like if I'm sitting like this.
Bun. Speaking of man, did you guys see that statue, the plaque they made for the soccer player?
oh my gosh. Hurry up. It looks like a man.
Pull it up on the
Okay.
computer for Kim.
All right.
Melissa's like, no, we gotta go.
I know. You're right.
Like a lot behind.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Shiny kitty,
I'll
shiny
let you
kitty.
know when Facebook is live, and then I'll let you know when.
Wait, how am I starting this? Am I just starting questions with her?
We're just
Yeah,
going to
so
say
you're introducing it.
we're doing a
It's
Q&A.
learning more about Dana and her.
We're getting to know you.
Ready?
That'd be great if we accidentally started with a boob poke.
That'd be awesome. We're getting to know you.
Alright, you're live on Facebook and you're live on Instagram.
Welcome to Wind Down Wednesday.
Hello,
Cheers. So we were just talking about how we were going to start out our video, and that was totally inappropriate. Okay, so we're going to get to know Dr. Goldberg today. It's a Q&A all about Dr. Goldberg, kind of how she got to where she is today, and we'll just kind of go over a couple things and just get to know you.
Sure, and if anybody else has questions, feel free.
Yes, so first question, biggest one, what made you want to become a doctor?
So that's a good question that I don't even know if I've ever known the answer to.
It's a big question.
Yeah, when I was younger, I feel like I decided, because my parents thought I was smart, that I needed to either become a doctor or a lawyer. In my hometown, those were like the two things that you did if you wanted to keep going to school.
Right.
So I think partially I pigeonholed myself into one of those two paths, but partially I also just didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I thought about tons of things, being a fashion
I think we all
designer,
do.
thinking about being a book editor.
Yeah.
And, I really went back and forth a lot, but when it came down to it in school, I really liked science more than I liked any other part of anything I studied.
Right.
And I just didn't want to stop going to school. I liked learning. I liked going to school. I liked being, kind of under my parents' roof and guidance. So
Right.
I just kept going to school and going to more school, and it just kind of led me down that path.
We all hate her. Okay, so the next one, where did you go to school and why, was one of the big questions.
Yeah, so for medical school, I went to Ohio State. I lived in Ohio, so it was, the state university that I was most used to.
Right.
And another big reason was just geography. My husband and I have been together since we were in high school. We separated for college, and we decided after 4 years of that, we had kind of had enough. And he was already set up in Columbus, and so since it was a great school, and it was also located close to my parents and close to him, that's where I ended up for med school. And I stayed there for residency.
And it's a really good medical school.
It is a fantastic medical school, and it's got a great residency program, too.
Where'd you go to undergraduate?
I went to undergrad at Notre Dame in Indiana. So
A lot of
sorry,
people
everyone
love
from
that.
Michigan. Sorry. Notre Dame, Ohio State. Sorry, but yeah.
All right, so I think this is jumping. Oh, okay, so another question, getting questions that were pulled. Why did you choose plastic surgery?
So when I got to medical school, I legitimately liked pretty much everything. Not OB. That was the one thing I wasn't super keen on.
Did not want to deliver babies and see
No,
vaginas all day. Although you're
there's
seeing
lots-
vaginas all the day now.
That's true. It wasn't so much anti-vagina. It was anti the baby comes when the baby comes.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night. And also, as weird as it is with how much stuff I smell in surgery, from wound care to blood to, I just didn't like the
Yuck.
smells of delivery. They're just not, I didn't like it when I delivered. I didn't like it when I saw other people deliver. Didn't want to see that every day. So I liked pretty much everything, but I knew early on I liked stuff with procedures. I
surgery.
got so bored. We would go on rounds. Oh, rounds for all the medicine rotations. You'd get to the hospital at 6, and you'd have 5 or 6 patients where you needed to look at all their labs, all their medications, go talk to them in the room, and then you would round with the resident and talk about it. And then you guys would come up with a plan, and we'd order tests, and then in the afternoon we would do it again with the attending and go around and talk about everybody again. And instead of, whereas in surgery, we'd say, oh, their potassium's low, let's give them potassium.
Right.
On medicine, they talk about why their potassium might be low for like 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it's important because we need to know why, but it's not the way surgeons' minds work. I just want to get in, fix it, get out. Yeah. I don't want to sit there and ponder for hours and hours why things are 0.2 nanomoles off normal. So, yeah, it ends up when I was in my second year of med school, I got to follow around a plastic surgeon, and it was fascinating.
Right.
We were operating on the face, the feet, the breast, babies, old people. It was a lot of variety. So it was the only thing I really didn't get bored with.
Right. Right. It was always intriguing.
Yes.
I like that. Okay, so why did you choose to open up your own practice?
So
the list goes on and
on. I don't even know that was, again, one of those really conscious choices.
No.
I feel like I go through my life and I know what I like and what I want out of my life, and then I just kind of find a path to take me there.
Yeah.
So I wasn't totally decided about private practice versus group.
Right.
And in fact, when I first moved down here, I did share office space with a couple surgeons for a couple of years. And just between me being, like every other surgeon, type A OCD, and I like things the way I like them, it's hard to make that kind of partnership relationship work in a group setting.
Right, because you guys both are very much your own individual. The place should be, I think it kind of you find that, like, they want to run their place one way and you want to run it a different way.
And even if there's subtle differences, it's different.
It's different. Yeah, and I don't think it really was planned by any means. I think and I think a big part of it is Ryan.
Yes. My
Having a husband who is a
manager.
Business crazy guru who just says, take the jump, trust me.
Yes.
Because as a doctor, a lot of doctors, I think people don't understand that a lot of doctors are not business people.
No.
And they don't usually take leaps of faith. And
no, as a doctor, you're taught, take the conservative route, take the safe route, don't push the envelope, things that are just not good business sense. That's not really how a good business person thinks. That's how a good doctor thinks.
Yeah.
So
it's been great.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in the practice?
So I've been out of residency since 2009, and I've been in this particular office building since 2012. So we've been here about 6 years, but I've had my own practice the whole time.
Yeah.
Even when I rented office space, it was technically my own practice, and I was just utilizing office space and staff.
Yep.
And things like
Which
that.
is pretty awesome for a woman, that you jumped out of everything and had your own practice. I think it's just pretty cool.
Why did you move the practice down here?
From Ohio?
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that was a given. When we were dating in Ohio and we got married in Ohio, we both knew we were not super big fans of Ohio weather. I love every other part about Ohio. My family is there.
People are great.
Columbus is a wonderful city. That's where we were for a while before we moved down here. And yeah, the Midwestern people are way different than down here. But the sun shines very intermittently, and the sky is a very bland color of gray for much of the year, with little dead sticks sticking out of the ground without leaves on them. So that was really the push for Florida.
Yeah.
And my in-laws were in Tampa, so we thought about going over there, but there was just something about this coast that was exciting, and
you guys
liked
fell
better.
in love with it. Yeah, and it was hard for you for a while to get used to the people.
3 years. I mean, I remember when I first went back to visit Ohio after I finally got used to living here. One of the biggest things that struck me was it was about 3 years after I'd moved here. I went back home, and I'm driving around, and somebody waves to me from the road, and I'm like, do I know them? Do they need something? Are they stranded? They were just being friendly, and that's not the norm. It's not the same down here. There are friendly people, don't get me wrong, but it's not quite the same.
Don't get the same thing.
No.
Oh, it's just a typo. Okay, do you ever try the procedures?
Oh, yeah.
What? Do you ever try the procedures that are done in office?
Oh,
yes, so
procedures we offer for
the social media post of the ice packs on her eyes and Kybella to the belly.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So
I understand now.
Basically, do I do all the stuff that I try to sell to everybody and do for everybody else? Yes, I do. I believe in it. It works.
You better practice what you preach.
So years ago, I had an idea to have like a little book in our lobby of everything everybody in the practice had done. We never quite got that organized with things, and mostly there were some people that weren't super comfy with revealing everything, but now that we have our new team, I think people would be.
I mean, not everything,
but
like...
Yeah, I have had lasers, I have had breast implants, I've done CO2 laser around my eyes, I've had Sculptra, I've had pretty much every other type of filler we have. I've done Botox in my armpits for sweating, for migraines, for wrinkles, for the platysma, for banding. I've done filler in my hands. I've done anal therapy. We did Kybella for fat dissolving around the belly button just to see if it would work, and it did.
Yeah.
And recently I just did Sculptra
in
my butt. So that was, again, because we needed a model and nobody else wanted to do it. But I'm not unhappy about it so far. So...
Yeah, and I think when we do it on ourselves, we kind of can get an idea of how we like to do it for others.
The main reason.
We like a natural look too, so then...
Well, plus I also want to see what it's going to feel like.
Yeah, yeah.
It's much easier for me to counsel somebody on how CO2 laser feels if I've had CO2 laser. Because then I can say, oh, okay, well, this is what it's like for the first couple of days, and, the pain is 5 out of 10, because I know what my own pain scale is compared to other procedures I've had.
It's nice too that you can sit there and not only are you from the surgical side, but you're also from the experiment side, that you've had it too. Patients really like hearing, okay, well, it's like sitting in an office with a therapist and they're giving you advice, but have you, that therapist, ever gone through what you've gone through? So same thing with a doctor. I mean, if you give advice and you say, well, they think this, well, have you done it? And it's nice to hear, yeah, I have. I've actually done it, and this is how I feel about it, Yeah. And I think the best thing about practice, too, is that we don't buy things that don't give results.
No.
So we'll try lots of things, and if they don't give results, then it's not the right thing.
I'm upfront with patients about what I really think is going to give them a result or not. And it's sad, because no matter how much I think something really is a good fit, I can't give 100% guarantee that people are going to be happy with it. But I'm very comfortable telling people, yes, we have this equipment. It might make a difference, but... based on what your expectations are, it's probably going to be something where you'll spend the money and feel like maybe you didn't see as much improvement as you wanted to.
God, that's a really... I think this is hard for her, too. I mean, I'm hurting for you. Favorite part of being a plastic surgeon? Ooh, what's the one thing?
It's a
bunch of things.
I thought about this over time, but the things that I liked that made me pick this over something else was definitely the variety of it. I remember being in general surgery, doing gallbladders, and I feel like as an intern or a second year, I pretty much mastered that surgery. And it's not that I'm better than the general surgeons out there. You can get into real trouble with those. Yeah. But it's not like plastic surgery where there's an awful lot of thought and planning and there's differences from patient to patient. There's pretty much one way to take out a gallbladder. And I remember the general surgeons, to entertain themselves, would almost just say, well, I bet I can get it out faster than you can.
Oh, yeah.
A, that's not that fun to me. And B, that doesn't sound super safe if you're trying to race through a surgery to beat your partner's time. I don't know.
So now everybody has to get a gallbladder, or else they're going to be scared to death.
No. And, the people that do it a lot are really good at it. And they have other ways of challenging themselves and trying to do it through smaller incisions and things like that. Whatever floats your boat.
Well, there are plastic surgeons, too, who race against the clock to do breast dogs. How many breast dogs can I do in a day? And how fast can I get them done?
So there's two reasons surgeons do that. I've heard this a lot. Yeah. So there are places that I call chop shops, where they really are motivated by getting as many people as possible through the door. And if the surgeon is running over time, a business person actually comes into the OR and tells them they need to wrap it up. I mean, to have that kind of pressure as a surgeon, I could never even fathom that.
That's crazy.
And the second thing I've heard of is doctors that just at a certain point decide they don't care anymore. I have surgical first assists that help me with suturing. And I mainly have one, but I have a few that rotate when she's on vacation or when we have bigger cases. And they work with multiple plastic surgeons in the area. And there are some that just have this reputation for, even if they're in a surgery at 2 hours, they're done with their breast lift. Does it matter if it looks perfect? Nope, it doesn't. Yeah. They're like, I'm done, I don't care. We're good. This is good enough.
Right.
Good enough. Yeah. This is plastic surgery. Good enough is not always good enough.
Right. No, and you like to take your time, and you like the challenge of things.
I do. I like the fact that even if I do a breast lift where I know what technique I'm going to do, I know the pattern of skin incisions, everybody's tissue has different texture, different techniques, maybe a little more applicable to one patient than another, and it truly is more of that artistry and creativity.
That's what you just said. Let's just say you're an artist. You're definitely an artist, and like when you get in there, that canvas is always blank, but you always can bring some new dynamic to it. And that's the cool thing. It's
fun when you start to see things literally forming shape before your eyes.
Right.
And the first time I really experienced that was in residency when we started doing breast reconstruction. And I went to Ohio State, where they did a lot of microsurgery and free flaps, where they would take tissue from the thighs or the buttocks or the tummy and turn it into a breast. it doesn't go up there breast shaped.
So impressive.
So watching Dr. Michael Miller, who was, kind of the main attending at our program at the time and who did a lot of surgeries, it was just fascinating to me the way he would just shape and move the tissue and use sutures to kind of control the shape. And it's really fun when you start to do it and you get it right.
So I think that answers the question. That right there. You can like see her eyes light up and how excited she gets. That is why she became a plastic surgeon.
Nerd alert.
Well, we love you for being a nerd. Okay. Most challenging and hardest part about being a plastic surgeon.
Whew. Yeah. So when I was
people.
doing a lot of that's hands down the toughest part. Everybody comes in with different stresses in their life, different expectations about what they're going to get out of surgery, different budget as far as time and money for recovery, and a different kind of set level for their own anxiety about having a little bump in the road along recovery. So what's toughest for me is when a patient is unhappy after surgery. By far, that is the thing I have the hardest time with, because I want everybody to be happy. I pour my heart and soul into every surgery, and there will be a specific number of times where things just won't go perfectly.
Yeah.
And some patients take it in stride and they stay positive and we work through it, and others just want to turn me into an enemy, and it makes it heartbreaking and difficult.
I think the difference with it is that, for knowing you, because I've worked with other people, is that your heart is so in it. And that's very rare for a surgeon. Because, surgeons are great, they're wonderful, but they really come, they do their job, and if they feel they did their best job, that is it. They did their best job, and your emotions and everything else don't really get hurt. And with you, you just put your heart into it, and I think when someone doesn't realize that this is plastic surgery and it's not always perfect and things can happen, it's hard. That has got to be the hardest part in the world, because you've done everything, executed everything the exact way you're supposed to have it done, and people just don't all heal the same. Yeah. And you take it more to heart because you care.
I take it very personally.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people, even if it's not that big of a physical complication, they're stressed out because they're going through a divorce, or they budgeted and scraped every penny of money they had together for the surgery, and if they have to go on antibiotics or take a couple extra days off work for something, it's a huge stress.
Yes.
And I feel like I take that stress on personally a lot of times.
And I think you can understand how it must feel on their end too,
Of course.
because you're a very successful business person too, and if something kind of
something
stopped
got temporarily thrown into my
it's
life,
hard,
it would be
but that
tough
is
for me.
the risk people take with surgery.
Yeah. And I just wish everybody would understand that is the risk they take because they want a surgery.
It's not done to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
that's
did
one
this
of the hardest
to me.
parts.
That you need to take ownership,
Right.
because there are complications. We have consent forms that outline them that are this thick, and some people just don't read them and say, well, I just trusted you that everything would be fine.
Right.
It's not a magic wand. It's surgery. Oh, that's call center. We're going to have somebody call that back.
So that's a patient calling in after hours. Okay, we can send it. It's going to go to me next. My phone's going to go. Or maybe Layla.
It'll go to Layla before it goes to you.
Okay.
But
if it goes to me, I'm going to grab it. We're going to take a break.
Yes.
So how do you balance it all? So it reminds me of that movie, How Did She Do It? With Sarah Jessica Parker.
Oh, yeah. How do I balance it all? Family, friends,
and career.
I have no life. I had no life for a very long time. My friends are my work friends, which are the same thing as my family. My husband works in the practice. My friends work in the practice. And, I do have friends that aren't in the practice, but they're usually sort of affiliated, and I don't see them that often if they're not. And the kids, thank God, my husband has a lot more flexibility than I do. So if there are emergencies with school, he takes the brunt of it. Our babysitter couldn't come in yesterday. He had to stay home from work and stay with the kids. So
it's a good balance.
I have that support. But as far as mental balance, I think we're all always constantly trying to find that. I have found that it's much more of a seesaw than an actual balancing act. Mm-hmm. I feel like there are moments where I have to be all in at work, and I'm probably not 100% committed to being the supermom. And then on the weekends, I kind of get into supermom mode, and I kind of get a little bit out of that work attitude. So it's kind of a pendulum back and forth, or a seesaw, rather than a constant, steady balance.
Yeah. I got to the end of my sheet. I'm used to just talking on a whim. I'm like, this sheet, what do I do with it? Now I'm done with the end of it.
Well, I want to ask Kim some questions.
Oh, no, you can't put me on. You can't put me in a spotlight. I'm already on one.
Kim has been with me since pretty much the very beginning of my practice. Definitely the beginning of this office. She's been in it with, from pre-construction, where we were based out of a single room next door, and Kim would bring in the printer and the phone, and we'd have our 2 days a week we rented space. So I guess one of the things I want to know from you is what made you interested in this field, and why do you still like working here?
I want to ask some questions. It's kind of funny because I was working with an optometrist who I adore. I love her. She was, again, a friend of mine. And then I switched over, and same thing, I just fell in love with this. Like, honestly, if I had been a better student, I don't know, took ADD medication, I probably would have been more in the doctor field or a nurse of it. But it's just so intriguing, and I love the patient relationship. I'm a relationship person, and I love working with people, and it's a journey that they take, that you're taking with them. You get to get a little bit of everybody's life and kind of be a part of it, and it's one of those biggest, it's like having a baby, having a marriage, having a wedding. Those are all big moments in their life, and you get to be a part of this part of their moment, and it's life-changing, and it's cool. And we were doing breast recon for a long time, too, and that was just a very emotional thing to go through, but it was also at the same time so awesome to be a part of that too when we did it.
We really bonded with a lot of our patients.
Yeah, I don't know. I fell in love with it. I used to faint if someone had blood. If I got drawn blood, I fainted, and if I saw a needle, I'd scream and run. And I'm obsessed with it now. Like, I actually like it.
Well, I just find it funny that I didn't know this for years. So Kim was like, when I say right-hand man, it was just me and Kim for a while. Like,
I did wound care.
Just me and Kim for a while.
I did minor procedures. Yeah. I had to hold dead skin flaps. I had to do all sorts of stuff. And I would have to tell myself in the head, just breathe, Kim. If you pass out, then Dr. Goldberg's screwed.
Yeah. But ever the professional, Kim never said any of this to me at the time. When we hired our first MA after formally moving into this office, and Kim knew finally that she didn't have to do any of that stuff anymore, it all came out. And I was surprised you covered well.
Yeah. And I liked watching the surgeries. I made it a point that I would watch every surgery I could, so that when I'm talking to patients and explaining things or talking about post-care, or they say, what did she do in the surgery? I really wanted to know that stuff. I mean, I think if you're going to be someone's right hand through surgery, you better know everything that's kind of gone on. So, I made that the point to do it. And I'm living my dream job. I love it. But I answered the question. And by the way, we're drinking rosé from whoever's recommendation, and it's Kim Crawford. It really stinks.
Oh, this is the Kim Crawford rosé.
It's really gross.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
I'm drinking it.
It's not really gross. It's just not good.
It tastes like a Zinfandel.
It does. It tastes like white Zin.
Yeah, something my mom would have drank. I don't know. But I had to throw that in there. Cheers, Mom. Cheers to that. But yeah, no, things are way different nowadays in our practice. They've grown, and we have such an awesome team.
Well, from employees 1 to, I think we're up to,
and now we're up to
16 or 18 on payroll now. So
it was Layla and I against the world, and now it's all of everybody.
Yes.
And we are the coolest team ever. And it's taken a long time to kind of go through a bunch of different, feeling it out, seeing what fits and what doesn't fit.
We haven't had as much turnover as most practices have had, especially for being a young practice. When I hear the CRNAs or the first assists that go to other offices, I mean, some of them have replaced their entire staff 3-4 times over in the last 2 years, which sounds super stressful. We have the occasional person move on to a different field or take time off to have a baby or something like that, but the core team has really been pretty consistent, and I just hope it stays that way.
Absolutely. The one last thing I missed on my sheet. Oops. Any advice for others who want to be a plastic surgeon? Don't do it. No, just kidding.
So my first joking instinct is to say, don't do it.
That's why I said it. I knew that would be yours.
Yeah, because I think it just depends on the person. I go through phases all the time where I think, had I known you could become a nurse practitioner or a PA and do a lot of the procedural things, I might have done that. But I also remember being a resident, and once I learned how to do a surgery, I was really itching for the attending just to get out of the OR so I could do what I wanted to do. Yeah. So that control part may not have had those things work out super well for me.
And I think if it's in your blood. It's in your blood. Like, my daughter wants to be a surgeon, and you always tell her, like, don't do it. Don't
she's
do it.
gonna do it
It's
anyway.
in your blood. If it's in your blood, you're going to do it.
Yeah. So my advice would be this. Just know, A, it's going to be a long haul.
Yeah.
B, you're going to have to be at the top of your game for everything. But I remember when I was in residency interviews, when I was a senior resident, I actually got to do some of the interviews for new people coming in. And they were much more concerned with, can I trust this person? And would they be cool to hang out with nonstop? Because that's what residency is, for like 3 years. Your research is important. Academics are important, but what it really comes down to in the end is, are the people that are going to be hiring you on to be a resident, are they going to be comfortable spending time with you and trusting their patients' lives with you?
Right.
So it all comes down to being a well-balanced person.
Right, yeah. Anything else, Melissa?
No, I don't think so. It's just a little bit.
All
Get
right.
to know.
We call her DG, by the way.
Yes,
Get to
everybody
know
calls
DG.
me DG.
Not only for Dr. Goldberg, but also Dana Goldberg.
And the best thing ever was the patient who called her the Miracle Girl.
Oh, yeah.
Her initials are
DMG.
DMG, and this girl called her the Miracle Girl. And I think that's totally right. Correct.
All right,
guys.
Enjoy the rest of your week, everyone.
Enjoy your week.
Happy Memorial Day.
Oh, yeah, we're off. Woohoo.
What just happened? I don't know. It's so strange.
That was